Welcome to Decades of Horror, the 1980s.
All we need is a little order around here.
This is episode 197, recorded December 22nd, 2021.
Gruesome Magazine.
We go for the least possible order, actually. I am your host, Jeff Mohr, and this podcast is about horror films released between 1980 and 1989. Each episode, my co-host Bill Mulligan, Crystal Cleveland, and Chad Hunt and I will tackle another classic or not so classic film from this radical, gory, influential, and gruesome decade. On this podcast, normally we give a few basic details of the film and our first impressions, and then we go down the street urinating on any bush we find. You know, it's just one of those things. So Crystal Cleveland could not be with us tonight, but we do have a guest host, a Decades of Horror 1980s alumni, Vanessa. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Excited to be back.
Yeah, it's great to have you. And you know, the Decades of Horror people are so great. I could text them like late the night before and they go, sure.
As long as I have time to watch it.
Thank you for joining at short notice. Also joining us is Chad Hunt, comic book artist, co-host of Decades of Horror, the classic era, Decades of Horror, the 1970s. And that's pretty much all of them. Chad, what you doing? How you doing?
I am good. I am very tired. So if I go off on some weird tangent tonight, you guys know why. You'll know why.
Please do.
Yeah.
Please do.
Reel you back in.
Just last but not least is Bill Mulligan, writer, director, special effects guru, and co-host of Decades of Horror, the 1970s. How are you, Bill?
Doing all right. I'm in sunny Florida.
Yeah.
Enjoying Christmas vacation with my girls, my grandkids.
No snow.
So, good times.
No snow at all.
No snow, but it doesn't look like there's much snow anywhere. So yeah.
All right. Usually at this time of year, you're dragging a blizzard around with you.
I know.
Well, I used to always go to Minnesota, but that's over.
Minnesota. So those days are gone. So if I look out now and there's anything that looks like snow, it's fallout. So it's
So you don't have to ignore the weatherman and drive in the blizzard anymore.
Yeah. No. I mean, there's a pretty good chance I'll get caught in a rainstorm because it's Florida. So
well, that could
deal
be.
With that.
That could be.
Yeah.
All right. Well, our topic today is The Stepfather from 1987, directed by Joseph Ruben, written by Donald E. Westlake, from a story by Carolyn Lefcourt, Donald Westlake, and Brian Garfield. I think Brian Garfield is the Death Wish guy, right?
Yes.
I think he wrote the original novels for that. Cast includes Terry O'Quinn, Jill Schoelen, Shelley Hack, and many others. Filmed in Vancouver, British Columbia, and a little bit in Seattle. Filming dates October 16th. That was when it started as a start date, and it was shot in 40 days, according to IMDb. So that seems like it took a long time to get out. Release date was June 5th, 1987. Box office, $2.5 million in the U.S. and Canada. No idea what the budget was. I believe the shooting title was Evil Stalks. No, that was the other movie.
That's the Monster Celery movie.
Yeah, that was the last movie we did. That was Scarecrows. Yeah, sorry about that, guys.
Yeah,
that does not fit. That was an even worse title for that movie. So the synopsis is, after murdering his entire family, a man marries a widow with a teenage daughter in another town and prepares to do it all over again. And that guy, he doesn't look like a killer, does he?
No, look at him. He's a happy, charming looking guy.
He does have a red tie. It's a dead
Well,
giveaway.
He
Yeah, you
looks
can
like a
always tell
killer
that.
from the 80s to me. That's your typical 80s
Well,
killer right there.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. If you're a serial killer fan or a follower of serial, well, I don't know how to put it right, but that kind of Ted Bundy thing. He doesn't look like the kind of guy who would carve up a bunch of people and mail their pieces to Cleveland.
He's
So
just buttoned down.
those are
just
the
a
ones you got to
little
look
too
for.
tight.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Only in
we
Dick
have,
Tracy do the villains look like villains.
we have a couple of posters here. This is the one that I see the most of.
I like this one.
Who am I here?
Who am
I
I
do.
here? Which is like intriguing and
notice the guy looking in the mirror is not the guy in the mirror.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Or
it
it's
is the
him with
guy
a
in the
beard.
mirror, but it's before he shaved and put his suit on.
Yeah.
And I don't know. This
and
is
Terry
another
O'Quinn does
one.
have the ability to look different. Yeah, this
He
is the
does.
one I think is video box kind of stuff. Which makes it look like a slasher movie, and
Well, this is how
really
you show
isn't.
a really evil person, because he's putting a pet at peril. That's a really bad
Right.
place, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is
Okay.
not. They're not going for subtlety with that poster.
Well, this one is Bill's pick, so we're going to give him first shot at first impressions. So, Bill, when did you first see this, and what's your impression of
Now,
it?
I don't know. I really don't know when I first saw it. I'm guessing probably soon after it came out on video, probably in the 90s or so. Heard about it probably through Fangoria. Didn't see in the theater, but just I'm looking for something to watch. And then, as now, I was very impressed with Terry O'Quinn. Really good performance. One of those performances where you're like, okay, there's no way this would ever get nominated for any acting award because it's a horror movie and they don't consider them to be real stuff. But I think this is as good a performance as any you'll see. He carries the movie. And the movie's fine as is, it does the job well, but it's really his performance that super impressed me then and super impresses me now. And he's a chameleon. Now, okay, so I've got kind of like face blindness, so I can't recognize people very well at all. And so if you like held a gun to my head and said, where have you seen Terry O'Quinn before? We would have got to the point where you shot me long before I got to Lost, which was one of my favorite shows. And he was my favorite character in the show. And I 1000% did not recognize him from this. I literally am from the universe where if you put glasses on, I no longer see Superman, I see Clark Kent. So there's that. But he's really good. And in this movie, you see him do this like 2 or 3 times where he really is able to convince you that this guy can shave his beard or take off his hairpiece and become a completely new person that even non-idiots, the people who don't have my problems, would not realize immediately, hey, that's the guy who killed that family right down the street. Doesn't look like he moved very far. Like if I did this, and I never would, I think everyone knows that. But if I did, I would move to like another country or planet or alternate reality somewhere where but I think he literally just got in his car and drove until, he got down to a quarter tank of gas and set up shop in the next town where they're still writing newspapers about, the killing that happened, right next door to him. So he's bold. He's brave. He's a good villain. He's one step ahead of everyone. Every now and then we see him lose a little bit, which is kind of cool. And it's a cool movie. It's one of those things I'm not rooting for him, but he's by far the most compelling character. I don't have anything against Shelley Hack or the daughter, although the daughter's a little annoying. Not annoying enough to justify killing her, don't get me wrong. But he's the most compelling character. And so it's one of those movies where you're watching it, you do want to see him get his comeuppance in the end, but you don't want to see it right away because the movie would be over. And it's sort of interesting. How is he going to get out of this pickle? She wrote to the newspaper and they're sending a picture. It's like, uh-oh, now he's in trouble. Nope. He works his way out and manages to gaslight everybody. I think it holds up really well. As a series, it doesn't seem like a movie that should have had a sequel, but as we know, it had several and a remake and all. So I feel like this should have been a one and done kind of thing, but but I think it's a good film, good performance, and of all the kind of movies that we watch, this one's a little bit more legit because it's conceivable it could happen, and indeed it did because it's based on a real story. And I do remember the real story. I remember when they caught that guy from America's Most Wanted or something. They did a little story on him, and sure enough, this guy who had butchered his whole family and then left and assumed a new identity. He didn't continue killing, but they got him, and it's like, yikes! That's the scary thing. I imagine if you came from a divorced home where you probably went through the trauma of new family and everything else. That's kind of a fantasy. What if this new person is I would have gone with vampire or werewolf, but serial killer is also maybe a more likely possibility, I suppose. So I think this film probably has a lot of resonance for folks. I think it's a good film.
Yeah. I'm going to go to Chad next because, in the interest of least possible organization, I skipped Chad's favorite section, the taglines.
Dang it! I was hoping you wouldn't remember that.
Because
we got some good ones.
These are some classic
Choice.
80s taglines.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah. Some good, some bad, some ugly.
I saw this back when it first came out, I believe.
Oh no, you're going to do taglines first.
Oh God.
Oh, you missed the point of this.
I thought I was doing a little
you're going to just talk right by that, didn't you? Yeah. Okay.
Look at this rabbit over here.
Jeff's easily distracted. I'll see if he notices.
Okay. Look, Jeff, a rabbit. Okay. Let me get down to these taglines.
Open up your tab.
Who am I here?
I
ask that every day, every podcast.
Yeah. That was such a momentous line too when he delivered that, because it was so powerful, and you don't understand it when you see it out of context like that.
When out of context, it's stupid, but in context, it's brilliant. Yeah,
exactly. When you just read it, you think that sounds dumb, but when it happens in the movie, it's chilling.
Right. Yeah, it moved. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So thanks for spoiling it. Tagline.
He's a family man with an axe to grind and wield.
Oh God, that sucks. That
one's weak.
With an axe to grind. I mean,
wasn't that on the Scarecrows? Wasn't that a tagline on Scarecrows?
It could have been. It very well could have been.
Should be slapped.
Daddy's home and he's not very happy. That was also a Full House.
Johnny.
That was a Full House tagline too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, an all-American family. He'd kill for it.
I could see how that one.
God.
Not how I read it.
No.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Okay. He wanted a perfect family in a perfect town. But they couldn't measure up. Neither could the others. Whatever that means.
Is that a part?
Okay, that's intriguing. It's like,
a perfect
others.
family.
What others? Okay. Yeah.
Oh goodness.
Jerry Blake loves taking care of the family. Any family.
Ooh. Wow. God, the way you said it was kind of creepy.
This is the story of a hospice care worker.
Exactly.
All right, Chad.
That's
so
a
when
lot
did
of
you
taglines.
first see this? And what are your first impressions?
I forgot now.
It worked.
Like I said, I saw it when it first came out, and granted, at the time I was deep into Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th, so all these supernatural killers and beasts and stuff like that. I was a monster kid. I loved monsters and stuff like that. So when I saw this, I was like, what is this Lifetime Movie Network crap with a little more blood in it? I just couldn't get into it at that time. But I don't know, but there was still something about it because I knew it became very popular. and a lot of my friends were talking about it and how good it was, but I never really revisited it. Revisioned it until maybe 10 years ago. I saw it again, and looking at it now, I have a better appreciation for it. Terry O'Quinn is just awesome. And like Bill, he was my favorite character on Lost. I was just so intrigued by him. If he wasn't in the episode, I wasn't really all that into watching it that much. But great performance by him. And like Vanessa brought out when he said, "Who am I here?" And at that point he kind of lost it, because he didn't really, he gathered himself, but at that point he didn't really care anymore. It was just a great, and some of the subtleness of his performance was very good also. The way he could go from loving father to a madman in the basement, punching stuff and yelling at himself and stuff like that was just a great performance. And I've got a little bit better appreciation for it now. I kind of like it now, or I hated it for years, but with great age comes great appreciation, I guess. But that's my impression.
Okie dokie. And finally, Vanessa. You hadn't seen this before, right?
I've just watched this for the first time today.
Excellent.
Oh, cool.
So it is fresh on my mind. I really didn't know what to expect when I watched this, but I got something much more than I could have ever expected, I think. The opening scene is one of the best openings to a horror movie, just across the board.
100% right.
Yes, and you see that influence trickle down to today. And I really was like caught by that. And of course, the movie is about Terry O'Quinn, basically. He's the whole driving force behind it. He delivers this fantastic, unhinged performance that it seems a little strange at first because he's acting so normal, but the first time he has that freak out in the basement, it's really intense, and it wasn't something that I expected from the character. Also, Terry O'Quinn is one of those actors that I know by face at this point, not so much by name. So I knew he looked familiar as I was watching it, but until I saw his picture on IMDb, which is him now, I didn't really put it together that it was the same guy, so much earlier in his career.
Right.
But I was so worried for the dog the whole time. This movie puts you on edge the whole time in such a subtle kind of way, because you just feel uncomfortable the whole time, because his performance makes you feel uncomfortable. You just don't feel at ease the entire time. So I really enjoyed it. It's one that I was telling my husband, like, we need to watch this together so that I can watch it again, but so that you can see it, if nothing else, for that opening scene. It really it catches you off guard because you don't really understand what's happening. And then he walks down the stairs, and it's just the way it's shot. Like, it's just beautifully shot into him walking outside. And I won't share too much till we get into
his total lack of emotion. Picking up the toy and putting it in, it's like, oh my God.
Closing the bin. You really see how he's influenced people.
We need a little order here.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Lots to talk about once we get into it.
Okay. That's great. I had seen this. I went to this in the theater.
Oh, good for you.
Can't really remember why, other than, I don't know. You know what? Maybe I thought, I was a stepmom, and I took my kids to Mr. Mom in the theater, and they all went, Dad, because my wife was working and I was staying at home and doing all that stuff. So I thought, the Stepfather, hey, maybe I get some pointers. No. I didn't recognize him either. When they showed him in his first form, I was like going, that's not Terry O'Quinn. I just looked at it as hard as I could and tried to make that be Terry O'Quinn with the beard and the curly hair, and I just couldn't get it until he was shaving. But yeah, that opening scene, and that's another thing that I like about it. It's a little bit, I don't want to say daring, but a little unusual to give the reveal at the beginning. We know who the bad guy is, and
no mystery.
We're not. Yeah, this isn't going to be one of those ones where the daughter hates him, and we're trying to figure out if it's
is he bad or
legitimate
is he
or not.
mind?
Yeah,
you're immediately on her side and thinking, why won't the mother listen to her? What is wrong? And she does get some help from the psychiatrist to a point. But yeah, he's great. He's absolutely great. And I agree too with what everybody else said. Those scenes where he kind of loses track, those are really incredible. They're so convincing. And so she what does he say? Something about, I think he calls work and says, this is so-and-so. And she goes, who? Who am I?
Yeah. Have you ever talked to an actual sociopath or psychopath? I can never keep them straight. It's like coral snake, king snake, just run.
Well, everybody's on the podcast.
I think so, but not officially.
So good at lying. They're really good liars. I mean, and they do it effortlessly and everything. But when you catch them, they, there is that little moment pause in their eyes where, it's like, and then they immediately shift and adjust. But it's like, it's a scary thing. And he does that so well.
I don't recall the title of the book, but I read a book about psychopaths where this guy went around and interviewed all these psychopaths, and some of them were like genocide type psychopaths in Haiti or something, and some of them were people that ran major companies and shut down plants. They were brought in to shut down plants because they had no conscience. But yeah, that was part of what they did. They talked to this one guy in the jail, and he said this guy was the nicest guy he'd ever met. And at some point, after a while, they talked on several sessions, and he asked the guy, why, you want me to like you, don't you? And the guy said, well, yeah, but why? So how else would I get you to do what I want you to do?
That's it right there.
It's like,
and
they're
good at it too. They're good at it. I think maybe not having much emotions of their own lets them, play with other people. Whereas for normal folks like us,
it becomes much more analytical, and so anyway, it's good. And I love all the little nuances, the guy, brother of his last wife that he killed, and how he's working to find him, and the things that you were talking about, Bill, the letters and that pictures, that kind of stuff, and how he avoids that. And anyway, I enjoyed the heck out of it. So anything that anybody noticed in terms of the direction? I mean, this is directed by Joseph Ruben, and I see he does Dreamscape.
Which we got to do that sometime. I really like that movie.
Sleeping with the Enemy is another one that he directed. So
Julia Roberts.
Wow.
Yeah,
he's only got like 16 credits, so it's interesting that he did kind of hit a streak there with Dreamscape, Stepfather, let's see, True Believer, then Sleeping with the Enemy. Oh, The Good Son. Isn't that the one with
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah. I mean, those are some pretty good credits.
So he kind of really hit that creepy family string there.
Yeah, I can see a lot of parallels too between The Stepfather and The Good Son. The way that it's shot and kind of the way the story's told.
Well, he did Money Train with Wesley Snipes and Woody Harrelson. Wow.
Oh, and Blindsided is that one. Well, I think I saw it as Penthouse North. I'm looking at the Michael Keaton.
Yeah. True Believer with Robert Downey Jr. and
So
James
anyway,
Woods.
Wow.
Wow.
yeah, not very many, but some seems pretty competent.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Yeah, it's inconsistent. Just movie every couple of years or so.
So I don't know if this is one of those ones. Donald E. Westlake is a very well-known mystery writer, as is Brian Garfield, kind of an action mystery writer. So not surprising that the script is well written and well laid out, and that it seems to be well directed.
Yeah. Westlake did The Grifters, which was one of my favorite.
Which was based on a Jim Thompson book, if I recall. I'm a Jim Thompson fan.
I mean, as a director, it doesn't call attention to itself. We've talked about this before, that some directors, you're like, oh, instantly that's an Argento film, that's a Hitchcock film, and this guy just seems more like he's telling the story without letting any particular stylistic habits get in the way of telling it. So I wouldn't recognize this style as being distinctive. And I don't know, those folks don't get the credit of being the mighty auteurs that the others are, but it doesn't step on its own storyline or anything. He does a good job. It's competent, which sounds really like faint praise, but I mean that well. It's well told. It's good. But maybe that doesn't get you lots and lots of offers for.
And I think that's one of the. I think that's one of the reasons that I came back to this and started to really like it. Is it's a straightforward story in many ways, with a few twists and turns. But like you said, it set it up right at the beginning that this is what he is. So all your tension and dread is coming from the family. When is the family going to find out who he is, and how is this going to resolve itself? It's not a mystery, it's not a murder mystery by any means. So it sort of sets itself apart in that way, by sort of shifting those story elements around a little bit to make it an interesting story. So.
No, that's a good point. And that's one of the difficulties a premise like this has, is that we literally from the first shot are privy to the reality of it. And then everyone else in the movie has to catch up with us. So it's hard not to make us feel like they're stupid. It's like, hey, come on, wake up. This guy is a serial killer. How could you not know this? We're like, well, yeah, because we have like God's eye view. We're seeing everything, and they're just seeing the little bits and pieces that he allows. But that is tricky. But I don't see any way of, we could have done the story. Hitchcock did a few where we focus on the daughter character and her suspicions, and we, the audience, are learning as she learns, and we're not really sure what's going on. Maybe it's all a red herring. But if you do it that way, you don't have that opening scene, which certainly gives away the whole game. And it's a great scene that carries the whole movie.
But, and also Terry O'Quinn is so good that you understand how they're not getting it. You're wanting the mother to listen to the daughter, but you understand why she's not.
Well,
and Vanessa,
in a Hitchcock movie. Well, in a Hitchcock
go ahead and
movie,
jump in. We're very unorganized here, so I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
I won't interrupt you again.
Tell Bill to shut up if you have to.
Yeah, shut up. No, no. In a Hitchcock movie, you're waiting for the suspense the whole time, right? You don't really know what it is. But in this one in particular, the suspense is, when is he going to kill the family? Because clearly this is what he does. It's what he does. So at what point in the story that we're watching is he going to move to the next one? And I found that really interesting, played against the brother character, who's also kind of racing against time unknowingly to find this guy in this town, to narrow down where he is. I thought it was really interesting too what they did with his character. I did not expect him to kind of go out the way that he did. But it just shows like the brutality of our stepfather character. And what you were saying about psychopaths too, the director did a really good job of showing that, like an honest, true portrayal of someone who is, that someone who can lie at that level. Because as I was watching this, you think about the real situations in which people have multiple identities, right? And I don't mean just up here, but like different lives that they've led throughout their life, pretended to be different people, escaped from different situations. And that takes, not anybody can do that. Not anybody can just get another social security number or just get another job and have this other life and continue, this facade that they're living. And so to show it in that way, I thought was really, really interesting, because it's true. We see that. Like the story you said that this was based on, that guy that killed his whole family and then just went on to live a regular life after that. It's like, how does that happen?
How do you do that?
Yeah, but it happens.
How do you sleep at night? Right.
So nonchalantly, just no big deal.
Yeah, I wanted to mention Donald Westlake again. You mentioned The Grifters, which he was nominated for an Oscar for, Bill, but he also did, way back, a movie called The Hot Rock. It was based on a novel of his.
Oh, really?
The one with Robert Redford and George
Yeah. I saw that at a drive-in.
Redford played a character named Parker, and that was he did a series of novels that featured Parker. It wasn't really like a detective series, but Parker was like a heist. So it was a lot of books where he had written the novel of it. I saw another one, but Point Blank, that was the other one. Point Blank was based on a novel of his from 1967, the Lee Marvin.
Yeah.
We had good writer. We had a director that seemed to be very competent at this type of setup, right? The evil in the family and who's going to see it. So Terry O'Quinn.
There he is, my man.
And he's looking kind of evil there. In that
You can turn up the intensity.
Yeah. When he took that second hairpiece off later on.
Yeah.
The what up?
Yeah.
I was like, what? That blew my mind, first of all, because I didn't expect that. But then, like you said, he just looked, every time, he looked totally different.
He literally could go rob a bank, and I would not. For all I know, Terry O'Quinn spends his off hours robbing banks with just a little bit of makeup and everything, and no one is the wiser.
He's like Superman. He just puts some glasses on. Nobody knows who he is.
Incredible. But good performer, and I'm glad he finally got his due. Lost, he wasn't a name that you were super familiar with, even though he was good, and I'm sure he was. He's been cast in a lot of things because he is good, but for whatever reason, didn't achieve that stardom that I think he deserved. But then Lost front and center. I mean, he was the face of that show. And whatever else you have to say about Lost, good or bad, everyone agrees he was one of the best parts of it, maybe the best part.
So I have a small grievance about his character, and it's that they didn't ever really explain what happened to him, excuse me, to make him that way. He'd have his little outbursts, and you would hear him have this dialogue, where you would pick up things that maybe he was said to when he was young or went through. But I really was waiting for the explanation, the exposition, I guess, on like what he went through.
Which I agree. From a storytelling standpoint, it's always satisfying to have a reason. But of course, in real life, people sometimes are just, they're born with something missing, and there's no explanation. There's no, this was going to happen no matter what. Whatever background he had, he could have come from a bad home or a good home or a medium home, but this was where it was going to turn out. This is how he was born.
According to
I know what you're saying.
According to the background on this, there was something in the script, some flashbacks about his abused childhood that was instrumental.
The psychiatrist brought it up when they were in the house. He touched on it. They didn't get into it, but it was enough of an idea to make you think, well, this guy had an effed up childhood. I think it was,
he brings up his father or something like that.
Yeah.
That was one of those moments. I was the audience member, like, run, get out of the house, run. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Because I guess the real suspense in this movie is when when is this new family going to do the thing that makes him realize this is not he has not yet achieved the ideal family he's looking for? Every time the little girl acts up, you're like, pure balls, kid, because this guy's a powder keg.
Yeah. Seriously.
Well, he inches them. The plot inches you up to the cliff, and then reels you back in. It's like, oh, everything seems to be okay now. She's, after the psychiatry, and but he just can't handle it.
And
that guy
because they never
freaks out.
Yeah, because they never tell you what happened that triggers him. It could be anything. Mm-hmm. That also adds to the suspense. So when she's acting like a brat, or he thinks she's acting, you're going, is that what's going to do it? Is that what's going to do it? So you're on the edge of your seat all the time, wondering what's going to set him off, which is a pretty good
night kiss.
Yeah. Do you guys think he would have killed that dog if she wouldn't have showed up?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh hell yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he was literally holding it up like that, almost like with the knife in it.
Yeah. Dog's part of the family. So
I was sweating. Like, please, this is the 80s. They kill dogs. Don't kill this dog.
My wife literally puts her hands over ears, closes her eye, and starts singing a song, and I have to like tap her on the shoulder when either the deed has been done or the dog gets away. Whenever there's an animal in peril in a movie.
Yeah.
This is
Well, and then when he freaks out about the kiss,
yes,
his
after
after the fact, then Shelley Hack, his wife, says, "You just blew every gain you made in like 30 seconds," and it's true because he doesn't really have, and on one way he could be so controlled and perfect, but yet there are certain things that he cannot.
Which gives you another indication that maybe that had something to do with his past that sets him off.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yep. Speaking of Shelley Hack.
Shelley Hack. Lovely.
She
was one of the Charlie's Angels, wasn't she?
That's what I was thinking.
I think so. At some point she was. So she had some horribly dubbed lines in a couple of these scenes, though. That just did not sound like her. When they were at the door, it just sounded like it was dubbed in, and it didn't sound like her at all.
I feel like was she a replacement for Farrah Fawcett when Farrah left?
I don't remember.
Well, she did. She only did one season.
Oh, okay, maybe
79-80 season. I don't know.
Oh no, she replaced Kate Jackson.
So year.
She was a later replacement. Unenviable task.
I can't say as I watched a lot of those.
They weren't good.
Although I mean, Farrah Fawcett
the movies were better.
Was like a thing. That poster of her.
I had the poster.
Mm-hmm. Of course you did.
And the hair, So she was with Jacqueline Smith and Cheryl Ladd. Were the other two. Okay, we got that straightened out. I can sleep tonight.
Yeah,
but she does.
I can't say I've seen her in a lot of things, but she's fine in this.
The daughter looked familiar.
She did.
She was kind of a minor scream queen, I think. She was in Matinee, and one of the Phantom of the Operas.
Jill Schoelen. Oh, she's on Popcorn. Yeah, okay.
When a Stranger Calls.
Did I say Matinee? Why did I say
Popcorn and Matinee are pretty close.
That's
not too far off from the.
Yeah, and she was actually in the sequel to one of the movies we did. She was in When a Stranger Calls Back.
I'm sorry.
DC Cab.
Oh wow,
that's going back a ways. Little House on the Prairie.
Really?
Well,
I think I remember her from that show.
Really?
Yeah.
She was in a terrible version of Babes in Toyland, which If it doesn't have a Laurel and Hardy, it can leave it right off.
Mhm.
Why am I not?
But she was good in this. She was good. She was,
Yes, she was.
you know,
She was.
kind of a thankless role because she's the one who has the suspicion but keeps getting thwarted at every step. But she, you know,
Mhm.
Right, and
sticks
she
at it.
has.
And when he does show his flashes, she's like, I'm glad she stuck with it because the one thing you get, I mean, just as a general real life advice, if someone even for an instant shows you that flash of darkness, that's what they are. You know,
Yeah,
the stuff that you portray to everyone else, that's what you're supposed to do. But the stuff that comes out, that's what's really there. There's no reason to think once they have you in their grasp, they're not going to show that a lot. So yeah, I mean, my advice to women or men, if you're dating someone and they have even that one moment where they, you know, show something that is really scary, run, move out of the house, even if it's your house, whatever, because you're not going to get better once they got their hooks in you. Isn't it the scariest thing, the idea that someone you love might have that darkness and you're totally unaware of it until it's too late?
Yeah. How many serial killers have been caught where their families claim to have no idea?
Yeah.
He was such a nice guy.
Yeah.
Or neighbors.
Yeah.
Good with his hands.
Well, I like that she's basically a character that has no power, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
She's a teenage girl with a stepfather. The mother's trying to please. She's got a new family. Right. She's trying to make this work. So she's not getting the benefit of the doubt at all. The only person she has to talk to is the therapist. And then he dies and that goes. Yeah. But then she does start digging, you know. She talks with her friend, calls the newspaper, tries to get pictures and that kind of stuff. So she is doing her own. She does more than one could be expected to do, I think, in that position.
Yeah.
The therapist totally is wearing the Star Trek red shirt because, you know, those guys always get off in the movie. Anytime they decide to investigate on their own, it's like, dude, you're not a cop or a detective. You don't carry a gun. You talk to people. You are dead. Stop doing this.
Yeah. Well, and he's not a very good liar, is he?
No.
No.
I'm single.
I'm single.
Oh, I got to get home for my wife.
My wife told me I'm single.
He dropped that quick, too.
Yikes. Right. Don't try to out-psycho a psychopath. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
So that was Dr. Bondurant was played by Charles Lanyer, and then the ex Jerry Blake or Terry O'Quinn's ex-wife from the family that he murdered. Her brother was Jim Ogilvy, played by Stephen Schoelen, who looked kind of familiar, but I can't say that I don't know. He was in Gone in 60 Seconds, exotic car salesman.
He was in The River Runs Through It with Robert Redford.
Oh, wow. Yeah, he did seem familiar, but then there's a lot of actors like that. They seem very familiar, but then when I look at them, I don't remember from where. He had a recurring role in La Femme Nikita, the TV show, but I didn't really watch that show. I'm sure
I watched that, so maybe that's...
He just has one of those faces.
One of those faces.
Too many. But he also doesn't, you know, he makes a fatal mistake.
Yeah, what a bummer.
He has the gun in a blousey pocket that you can't draw from.
Yeah. Yes.
He had all that
He's
training.
Got no excuse. Yeah, he knows that this guy's a crazy killer, so you know he should go in with both. He should have both his, two guns out in his hands like a John Woo film. I mean, if I know I'm going to be in a room with a...
He was playing this tough guy the whole movie, and then he finally confronts him, and he goes, "There's blood on you." Yeah. Too late. Too late. You've been stabbed.
Yeah.
Too late.
Too late.
Stabbed.
Yeah. I would have had the gun out before I ever went in the house.
Come on.
Oh yeah.
And that wasn't. That was a stab. That was
that was a big time stab. That wasn't a slash.
Yeah.
That was
he
a
was
stick it in
brutal.
and twist it. And,
and lift him up off the ground.
yeah.
Yeah, he was
Surprisingly
brutal.
strong.
He didn't care. When he slapped her with that phone.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
Yeah, that too. That was brutal. That
That was
came out of
brutal
nowhere.
looking.
Yeah.
Well, that was the
Shelley.
the turn.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he was done. That's when he was done with the family at that point,
Mhm.
right?
Right.
Time to get.
Well, he was already right. He'd already had
plans.
left his job at that point. It's
Mhm.
just he's just setting up the next escape route, basically.
Mhm.
Ooh, it's kind of chilling.
Well, and the
Yeah.
discipline to ride that ferry and go and change his clothes and put his makeup on.
Yeah.
Little mustache. Gosh. Yeah, that was wild. This was a really great performance. Especially so like early in his career to what we've really seen, to be able to go back and see something like that. Yeah, like
Mhm.
that. In the beginning, I kept thinking, is that the same guy?
Yeah.
Did they switch
Yeah.
guys? Is that the same guy? Yeah, it's the
Mhm.
same guy. Oh man. I love
He
that.
might have
scene.
had I don't know.
He just
Yeah.
looks so different.
Even the 2x4 death was just.
Yeah.
It was such a switch from who he was portraying to that killer mode.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's
It's a
selling
brutal
the
way to kill
house,
someone too.
Yeah.
telling him all
Yeah.
these positive points, and all the guy has to do is say, "Yeah, my wife hates that."
Yeah. Ruh-oh, Raggy.
Wife, you say?
Mhm.
Ruh-roh.
Oh, fiance. She's like my wife. Don't kill me.
Yeah.
I'm divorced. I'm engaged. I'm not married yet.
Well, and at the same time, when he's caught in a lie, like he says he was at work and she knows that he left work, and he like in a second throws out a semi-plausible story that when you're
Oh yeah. He's,
in Shelley Hack's position, she's going to want to believe him. You don't want to believe you made a mistake and picked a psychopath who's lying to you about having a
Yeah.
job.
Yeah.
Oh Lord.
Yeah.
but again,
Oh, that
if you
darn new
ever
girl.
see, if you ever see a liar in action, it's almost like an art form where no matter what the evidence is, the wife comes home early and there he is, and there's a naked woman in the bed, and you think, oh, he's gonna apologize or grovel or something. He's like, oh, I know how this looks, but she's a nudist and she came in to use the phone, started feeling a little fit. And he's got this amazing story. Like, there's no way that anyone could come up with a story that fast. So maybe he's telling the truth. You want to believe because it boggles a normal person's mind that anyone could lie, come up with a story that complex so quickly. It's a real talent, which they use for evil. So
yeah. Well, speaking of, somebody in special forces once told me one of the things that they teach them is deny everything, admit nothing, and make counter accusations. What does that sound like to you? A psychopath. Like,
Mhm.
they're training them to be that way, but
Sounds like half my family members.
They're skilled.
Yeah, no, that's true. Next thing you know, he's.
I gotta
she's
remember that.
apologizing for
Deny
coming home early. What are you taking
Counter
notes on
accusation.
this? Oh,
Next Thanksgiving, I'll have plenty of ammo against some people. I
okay.
See?
deny everything.
Deny everything, admit nothing, make counter accusations. That girl, she never.
Well, that's
remembered
actually
anything.
there's a lot of people in the news and the political side that's their mode of operation.
Oh, yeah.
I think.
What are
actually,
you saying? That our politicians are sociopaths? Is that what you're implying, sir?
Yes.
How
What?
dare you?
Yes.
I don't know how they keep up with it.
Well, I
My brain
believe
doesn't work
that was
fast.
what was the guy's name? Cohen, the lawyer. That was like his mantra, I think.
Yeah, yes,
Oh, yeah?
yes. He was, yeah.
Right.
Larry, no, not Larry. I want to say Larry Cohen. No, Larry Cohen was a good guy.
No,
I know
Roy.
exactly who you're talking about. Them, Roy Cohen. Oh yeah, yeah.
Roy Cohen, yeah.
Who had a lot of friends.
You mentioned the guy.
in,
You mentioned the guy that was really based on was a guy named John List,
Mhm.
who
Yes.
killed his wife,
Mhm.
his 3 kids, and his mother.
Yeah.
I don't think he went around changing his appearance or anything, though, did he?
I think he just went and lived
He
another
just
life.
went and lived
No.
another life somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, he moved. I think he moved to Denver to start with. And so the original, I got this stuff fascinates me. So he left. It was in New Jersey. He left New Jersey and went to Denver somewhere along the line. And
By way of
was in
Iowa.
no, he didn't go to Iowa.
That's where Jeff lives.
Yeah,
He didn't bury anybody in Iowa.
There's a lot of cornfields in Iowa. I'm just saying.
that's right.
Yeah, the guy that Night of the Hunter was based on lived in Iowa at one point.
Ooh.
Anyway,
Oh, really?
Mm.
so anyway, he moved around. Then he eventually gets a wife. This happened in like 71, and I believe he got married in 80.
And he looked like a shipping clerk. He was the most mild-mannered looking killer you could imagine.
He was what's the Monty Python skit on the certified public accountant? The life of a certified public accountant.
And I mean, listen, I love Night of the Hunter. It's one of my favorite movies. But you've got to be 12 kinds of stupid not to know within 10 seconds of meeting Robert Mitchum in that movie that this guy is trouble. Whereas the people in this movie, it's very plausible that Terry O'Quinn is a perfectly nice guy, rakes his lawn and takes care of things. And there's no reason to suspect that there's anything inherently scary about him. Yeah. So I think they did a really good job at selling that here.
Yeah, he sells the American dream. Like,
yeah. Well, yeah, he even pitches that stuff at that party or a barbecue he has at his house.
Mm-hmm. And then he was going to sell insurance. Perfect.
Life insurance.
Perfect.
And he apparently knew what he was talking about.
I think he and the guy from American Psycho would have a lot to talk about.
Yeah,
both snappy dressers, and
So he kept singing or whistling Camptown Races, wasn't it?
Yeah.
In several places in the movie. The director wanted him to whistle The Way We Were.
Barbara
That'd
Streisand.
be a lot more difficult, I think.
That's not an easy whistle.
Camptown
Races.
Yeah, probably could
within
get rights to it.
Camptown Races, I know it. Come on, doo-dah, doo-dah,
Yeah.
So
The Way We Were.
Yeah.
The Way We Were.
It's not quite as easy a whistle either, I don't think.
No, it's not.
No, it's awkward. I'm trying to imagine it now, and I don't. I guess it was just one of his favorite songs. I'm glad they didn't get the rights to it.
Yeah, so am I. That would have been that would have taken you right out of the movie. Is he whistling The Way We Were?
The Way We Were.
But
focus on that.
The original guy, that John List, he did the same thing though. He quit his job or got fired. I think the bank closed. And he kept saying he was going to work for like a month and set up all this stuff.
And he whistled the theme song from Funny Girl. So
yeah. Or Maine, one of the two. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
All right. Any other comments we want to make about this?
It's a great little movie. I mean, it's sort of not a slasher, but it is. It's sort of not a drama, but it is. It's sort of not horror, but it is. So it's an amalgam of all these different genres, I think, put together very well and very well acted with a great cast and everything. So
in my mind, I keep thinking like it's so quintessentially 80s because it has so many of these things that we've seen later on just be used and abused over and over again.
Yeah.
But there's the way that it's shot. I keep going back to this opening scene, but when he's coming towards the front door about to leave, the way that the light is coming in through the windows, and they used to do a lot with make it kind of like smoky in the room, so you couldn't really see what's going on, gave it kind of that atmosphere. And like seeing stuff like that done like that. So, that's not a hugely technical shot either, but so well done to deliver that kind of emotion.
Kind of a sun haze or something.
And then when he's rolling up the body, in the paper, like it's all stuff that you see, or the girl listening, like you're listening to music to drown out her parents doing it next door. It's just really, it's funny in hindsight sometimes, but like, it's really cool to see a movie that Like you see, this is clearly something that Joaquin Phoenix has studied in order to add to his performances, because this, you see where so many actors draw their inspiration from just from this performance.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. Because I remember thinking when he walks out of the house at the opening, after you get that he's killed his family, you've seen him shave and cut his hair and totally change his appearance, and get out of the jeans and flannel shirt, put on a sport coat, pants, and a tie, and he's got a briefcase, and he's got a bag too. Oh, that's got his old clothes in it. So he goes walking out of the house whistling, and I'm thinking, well, that's kind of ballsy that you assume nobody in the neighborhood's going to see you walking out of there. And then I think they don't even know who he is.
Right.
And once you get to the sidewalk, now you're anybody, walking down the street.
Yeah.
So,
and to take it back to the 80s, like affluent white guy, middle class home, guy in a suit. Why would you think anything different?
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Nobody suspects. Well, apparently they did have a little trouble. Ted, you were talking about all the different things it could be. That they first tried marketing it as a psychological thriller, and they didn't think they were getting the response they wanted. So then they changed to marketing it as a slasher film, which I would not really a slasher film, but even
it is and it isn't. I mean, it took elements from a lot of different genres and sort of did a mashup on them.
And that's the thing. It's sort of right in the middle. If it had been gorier, it maybe could have gone more in that direction, but that would have taken away a lot of it. And if they pulled back any more, it would have been a TV movie. So it's in a weird place.
And they're trying to market it toward wherever they think they're going to make the most money, and slashers were big at the time. So
well, and I see Roger Ebert in his review gave it 2.5 out of 4 stars. And you know how he got sometimes about violence. He says violence itself seems to sell at the box office, even when it's divorced from any context. Maybe that's what the filmmakers were thinking. What often happens, though, is that in an otherwise flawed film, there are a couple things that are wonderful. The Stepfather has one wonderful element: Terry O'Quinn's performance. So, I mean, he gave it credit there.
See, but there's not even that much. Here's what's interesting. You see what he did in the beginning, right? You don't see him do it, but you see what he did.
Right.
And then it's all the way at the end of the movie that you see that kind of behavior again, right? Kind of with the therapist, but that starts the ball rolling. There's really not that much violence.
But even then, for a horror movie, you don't see the, to get too graphic, but you don't see the head smashing. You see the the board going down and down, and the noises of it, and maybe some blood splatter. I think you're not seeing his face being caved in, or you're not actually seeing it.
Yeah,
right.
You see the aftermath of the violence, but you don't.
So you got that. You got the aftermath of the family. You have the psychiatrist, and it's not until that closing scene where kind of all hell breaks loose, right? And the only one that's, it's Jerry Blake and the Ogilvy.
Jerry.
The only thing the Ogilvy guy had going for him is he's the guy that carried the gun all the way to the end of the movie so the mother could use it.
That's right. He got it just far enough out of his pocket so it'd be laying there and somebody.
Yeah.
Right. And apparently Jerry Blake was so arrogant about the whole thing that he didn't bother to pick it up or kick it away or anything.
He uses his hands.
Yeah.
Anyway. All righty. Are we good?
I'm good.
That was a good one. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, it was. I was surprised. That was a good pick, Bill. Like I said, I saw that in the theater and it creeped me out then, but I had no idea if it was going to hold up.
Yeah.
That's terrible. Yeah.
Not every pick is Planet of the Dinosaurs. Sometimes I get one that everybody can agree on.
All right. So we do have a bunch of feedback And
Oh, boy.
we'll kind of rotate this around. This is
They have pills for that, you know.
Wow.
Feedback.
Yeah.
Always
yeah.
with the pills, Chad. I took my pills today. Jeez.
I had a rough childhood too.
So we'd like to welcome Mike Zatz to our legions of commenters here, because he has suddenly commented on a whole bunch of episodes. So first one is episode 189 on Basket Case. So I'm going to let Chad read this since he's brought up from Mike Zatz.
I don't want to read this. Okay. And to think Chad can fit all the items in the opening list in his pants. Chad, if you need any help with any heavy lifting doing the pods between the 70s and classics, I offer my services. Love the work you guys do on these casts. Watch what you say about Don Ho. You
Don
don't want
Joe.
to Don Joe? Okay.
Yeah.
You don't want to swim with the fishes. Piranha, anyone?
All right. So to explain, I probably should have explained this a little
Wow.
bit. The opening quote was that long list of drugs that guy was selling on
Right.
the street. So that's what he's talking about there.
Yeah.
And I think you made some joke about stuffing stuff down your pants or pulling your pants up or something.
Yeah, I've got a trench coat, big pants, big parachute pants from the 80s and all that.
And we had a comment from Don Joe, and we were a feedback from another film, and we were joking about maybe he's like, the Don Joe, not Don Joe. We should quit joking about this guy. He might. Anyway, so that's what he's talking about.
We need a scorecard to keep track of the references in our comments.
Well, when you do episodes, we forget about them like a week later. So.
Oh yeah. Did we do that
You gotta
movie?
go back
It's been said many times.
Oh yeah. We already did that. No, we didn't. Yeah, we did. No, we didn't.
So episode 190, Possession. Another Mike Zatz comment. Vanessa, could you read this one?
Oh, yes. Sorry. I only have one screen.
Oh,
So
okay,
I have to pull it up on my phone. Hold, please. Oh, this is the guy y'all were talking about.
Yeah.
Mike Zatz. So this is episode 190, Possession. Mike Zatz says, an early 80s WTF featuring the otherworldly Isabel Adjani and post-Damien Sam Neill, which awesome. Two beautiful looking people in a less than beautiful relationship gone wrong, gone right. I like Crystal's take if you look at the kid's perspective of the coming together of his parents after a series of odd events. Is odd an understatement for this film? Again, you DOHers delivered a great discussion on the film. After your talk, visions of the 1976 God Told Me To came into my head. I have not yet seen Possession, but it is one that I will seek out. I like films that make you think after the credits roll. I will get back to you with my conclusions. Keep rocking the decades.
And we did, if he's listening, we did God Told Me To on 70s, so you can look that one up.
Oh, you can watch that one too.
So 191, Rawhead Rex, another Mike Zatz comment. Bill?
Does that mean? Oh, okay.
You want me to take that
And
one?
Mike, if you like films, if you like films that make you think when the credits roll, Planet of the Dinosaurs. Okay, Rawhead Rex.
Or Rawhead Rex.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Mike Zatz says, Rawhead Rex wrecked 2 hours of my life. Well said. But at least it was a Clive Barker story, and it had David Duke, who, if anyone remembers, was the one who sexually assaulted Edith Bunker in her kitchen. Yikes. Wow, that's great broadcast by you 80s crew dudes and Dudette Crystal. Wow, he assaulted Edith Bunker.
I do remember that when he
that's
brought that up.
not as shameful as being in Rawhead Rex, yeah.
Ugh.
Okay, so now here's one that's not from Mike Zatz. This is from Evil. 194, Lair of the White Worm. Chad?
That's a good one.
Okay. You know, Hugh Grant saying that he was ashamed of being in the lair of the White Worm is just like Susan Sarandon saying that she was ashamed of being in the Rocky Horror Picture Show. I mean, come on, people, own it. Tim Curry's career wasn't harmed. Jamie Lee Curtis owned Halloween and went back for more, and she's a Hollywood royalty. Betsy Palmer in Friday the 13th totally had the right attitude when she told the critics where they could shove their complaints. That would be up their ass. Acting is acting. Shouldn't diversity in your body of work be lauded? Just saying. He's spot on there. Thanks, Evil.
Yeah. And in fact, I think Richard Clements had said something about that when we did Horror of Dracula, that he just doesn't get actors that dump on the stuff that they're in. Just own it, do it. Did you do your best? That's all you can do.
Did you cash the paycheck? Shut up.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So we have another one from this is Zat's Horror. Yeah, on the White Worm. Lair of the White Worm. All right, I'm gonna read this one. Ken Russell and Phalanx. Another good one.
That's why you wanted to read it.
Yeah, that was it. I saw that word there. And another good one from the late director who had an obsession in a few of his filmography with a certain member of the human anatomy. Lady Sylvia Marsh, Amanda Donahoe, is both sexy and creepy as the high priestess of the snake god. Based on a story by some guy, Bram Stoker. I wonder if this guy wrote anything of note. Anywho, I remember, no pun intended, seeing this back in 1988 or 1989. The image of Lady Marsh biting the crotch of one of her victims is etched in my mind. I don't know if anyone has done a sequel, but the end of the film implies that the story could continue. And there have been none that I know of. Again, you guys hit it out of the park with this podcast. Keep up the exceptional work, diving headfirst into your 80s podcast, but had to start with your latest, and we'll backtrack from your first of the 80s and move forward.
Ooh, are you in for it?
Thanks for the informative and entertaining cast you guys put together. Before I sign off, happy holiday to all at DOH and beyond. Same to you.
Thank you.
Same to you.
This is some awesome feedback we're getting.
It is. Okay. Yeah. So next, still on the Lair of the White Worm, is from Lone Wolf.
Okay.
Can you take that one, Vanessa?
Yes. Lone Wolf says, I literally watched this film hours before listening to the episode, and you guys pretty much said everything I was thinking when watching Lair of the White Worm. It was just minutes of nonstop weirdness with the snake vampire witch succubus lady. My favorite scene was the odd Gaelic rock festival with Hugh Grant cutting the fake white worm in half. Great episode and podcast, guys. Love you so much. P.S. I think Crystal is the snake lady. That would explain why she was away.
We think
has
that
to shed her
well,
skin
but we
every
don't
now
say
and
it. We don't say it out loud.
What type of snake?
She was off acting, and took longer than expected. And this was her pick. So,
which is
that's a good movie.
I can't believe she
It's a very Crystal
saw
movie.
right through her costume.
Mm-hmm.
Her persona.
He's the first to die.
She should have put glasses on, and then no one would have known.
All right. And our latest 195 Neon Maniacs from Evil. Bill?
Okay. Evil. I blame L. Frank Baum for the water being right next to the easily killed by water villain trope. I mean, seriously. Alpha Baba, a random bucket of water just sitting there. What were you thinking? She's wicked. She's not smart.
The wicked witch, right? And
Right.
Wizard of Oz.
Should I keep going with the last two here?
Yeah, go ahead and finish those off. Jeremiah the Pisces, we used to get comments on Gruesome Magazine from him, so it's nice to hear from him.
Well, he's back. Yeah, welcome back, Jeremiah. Love this movie classic. By the way, please check out the movie called Titan. Chick screws a car and gets pregnant. Boy, he should be writing a poster. If that sounds interesting, please check it out. I don't even know where to begin.
That's a new movie.
And then one
That's
from
a new movie.
It is, yeah. And the one from Jay Bart. We were all lured by either those video box covers or Fangoria. The 80s. True.
He's
Yeah.
not wrong.
Yeah.
Thanks, Joel.
Thanks, Everett.
All right.
Everybody. That was a lot of good comments.
Yeah, that was great. Thanks
Yeah.
to Mike Zatz for joining in, and we look forward to more of those. And who else? Evil is back. Jeremiah the Pisces. J. Bart. Lone Wolf. I think that's got him covered. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, everybody.
And good comments.
Mhm.
All right. That's it for this episode. But every 2 weeks, we'll be focusing on a specific film released between 1980 and 1989. Next up, we tackle one chosen by Crystal, and I got a secret contact from her. She has chosen Halloween 3 from 1982.
Wow.
Now we're getting into the good
Boys.
stuff.
Now,
Could be some controversy there.
this is technically maybe a double tap, but not really. The Mad Monster podcast covered it in 2014 when Doc and Thomas were doing them before they changed it, before it was changed to 1980s. So
We got this.
It's been
yeah, it's
long enough.
expired.
Yeah.
It's expired. And you know, we'll have to change the song though. It'll be something like I don't know, 270 days to Halloween instead of 3 more days to
Yeah.
A little
Halloween.
further away.
So yeah,
Catchy tune.
everybody, we love comments. Leave comments here on the page, or you can send emails to feedback@gruesomemagazine.com, or join the Gruesome Magazine H&R and DOH podcast Facebook group. We have some fun over there as well, or even on the website at gruesomemagazine.com. So please.
And if you guys have any suggestions for us, any movie you might want us to cover,
Yeah.
you know,
please do so.
episode 200
Yeah.
is coming up. Dare I ask for suggestions?
You just did. Send us suggestions right now for
Yeah.
episode 200.
Got to be careful what you
Like a
ask
movie
for.
where a girl has sex with a car and gets pregnant. I mean, you know.
Yeah, well, that's 2021. So, but I
Sure
gotta check
is.
that out.
Hey, we could go.
See?
We could reverse the roles and do a guy and make it Christine.
Jeremiah knows the movie.
Now you're thinking.
Yeah, I gotta go watch that.
Pregnant.
Yeah, you got that right.
in his mind.
All right, and appreciate it, Vanessa. Thanks for stepping in. It's great to have you.
Yes.
Here.
Great to see you,
Yeah.
Vanessa.
Thanks for having me. Lots of fun.
Everybody have a good holiday. This won't come out
Yes.
till I don't know
January.
what
January?
date. What day is it today? It'll be January before this comes out. But hope everybody has a good holiday or had a good holiday.
I'll be another
Catch
year
us some-
older.
Yay.
Yeah.
It's not so bad. It's not so bad.
And let's hope 2022 doesn't do what 2021 said. Like,
There's a God in heaven.
look at
Hold-
2020 and
Hold my beer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Yeah.
Catch us again here in 2 weeks for another great horror movie of the 1980s, as only decades of horror can do it. Say goodnight.
Good night.
Good night, folks.
Bye.